Ooh, what's that name? Extended. Um, I don't know. I wanted to see if I could get any not feedback. Feedback's not the right word. I guess I'm looking for prompts on the dream stuff that I'm gonna be discussing tonight. Because I mean, as I see it right now, I'm gonna try to do a better job of telling three different dream stories, like dream scenarios, personal ones. I think I may have like two or three more. I do have two or three more. I am not necessarily trying to let anybody in this one. There might be like one or two people potentially. I don't know. It depends on where I'm at, because that really tends to like throw me off, kind of. Which is okay sometimes. Sometimes I'm actually looking for that, but then other times, like, I think I need to like remember, hey, you're doing something. You can interact later or at another time. But dreams, a very cool like topic to me, because it's just as, to me, it's just as important as the like whole ultra dimensional tricksters and the duat. Like it really does go into what this is, what this place is. Man, this is starting to kind of come together to look like something, and that's cold to me, because I don't know that, I'll be honest, I did expect it to go somewhere. Okay, so I'm not surprised. It's just, it's proud. I'm proud, you know? Especially when other minds that I respect are coming to some of the same results and the same hypotheses that I am. That shit's hard. That's, that's cold. I'm definitely not surprised. I have faith in my processes. I have faith in my faculties and capabilities and shit. It's just cool, you know. I don't know how to say that without qualifying it so much. I honestly do wish I could get a little more serious feedback on one of those stories that I'm going to be retelling. The other two are too subjective. I don't really like it when people try to like decode my dreams to me. But one of them, I don't really classify as a dream. There's something else going on there. Two of them, actually. There's something else going on there. But the other one I think I understand pretty well. The one where I feel like I'm on a mission, that one I think I understand the situation pretty well. In fact, in the original video, I kind of go into talking about, like, I start asking those prompting questions that I tend to like to ask. But I think I have more of an audience now, so if you happen to watch the show tonight and I ask those questions, it would be cool if you could go over to the YouTube and answer them, or give your, even if you answer the questions in the comments in the live stream, that would be cool, because to be honest, those were very, very serious questions. They have to do with kind of like my overall like research, and it would help. I'll leave you anonymous. You know, your name doesn't have to be involved unless you want it to be involved. I would definitely give you credit for your input if you want that. If you don't want that, it'll just say anonymous, subject number, blah, blah, blah. But That would be cool. I am interested to see what people think of that second scenario. The first scenario is also not a dream, but I don't know what to make of it. And I didn't know the first video. I'm not going to really have too much of a different perspective on it this time. I feel like I know what happened, but it sounds pretty crazy. So, you know, I'd like to get some other perspectives on it too. The first one is just precognition. I'll be upfront about that too. Like, and you know, again, I'm retelling 3 dream-based experiences, and then I'm gonna have like two to 4 other dream-based experiences, even if it just felt like a dream. And yeah, I actually should probably make a list of the other 3 to 4 that I'm going to talk about, because there's too many, and I think if I try to do that on the spot, I might say one that is not great for public release yet. Anyway, I was listening to a show before this. I don't know who these dudes are, so honestly, I won't say like, oh, it's, you know. But I have had some scientists and some mathematicians and so on, like, you know, say stuff that mirrors what I'm coming to in my work, and that's really cool. And it's happening more and more. But I've also noticed something that I don't care, but it just makes me feel weird. There are beings whose channels that I watch who very soon after me talking about something, they talk about it. Or like a way that I talk, like words that I use that I don't feel like they're not super common, they start using them. And it's fine. I'm not saying this in like an ego way, like, oh, you're copying me, or, you know what I mean? I want my credit, or, you know, none of that shit. It just feels weird. It's very creepy to me. At the very least, it would be cool if they'd be like, hey, you do good work, you know? Because otherwise, you know what kind of work I'm doing. Otherwise, it feels like you're trying to, or whether it's intentional or unintentional, it's like you're trying to make me feel like, you know, some weird shit is happening. I'll say it like that. I'm not trying to come off as, you know what I mean? But, and I don't even think I would notice if it wasn't like more than a couple channels. It's not just 1 or 2. There's like 4 or 5 of them. And the majority of them have not spoken to me before. Actually, it's more than that. It's like 5 to 7 different ones. And it's I've double checked, because there's been a couple times where I've said that, and then I go look at when the video was released and it's previous to me, which is still cool. That means like, oh, you're not necessarily right or on the right track even, but other beings whose minds I respect are coming to similar results, is what that seems to mean to me, which is cool. But these other ones, literally, you know, I'll either put a video out within the last couple weeks, or, you know, last couple days sometimes, and then their next video is not only talking about the thing, but it's like they're talking about it the way I talk about it. I don't know, dude. It's very weird, and like I said, if you're doing that, that's fine. Just stop creeping me out with it. You know, say something like, "Hey, your channel's cool." Just you don't have to do it publicly. You know, I don't give a fuck about that. Just stop making me feel weird. You're making me feel weird. You know, because these are not like the size of channels don't matter, but it is strange to me that this like much larger channel with like more people paying attention to them starts talking like me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. I mean, I don't give a fuck what you talk about. I'm glad that if you're bringing attention to cults, cool, good, you know? And especially if you're not one, if you're not just trying to like, look at all those cults, but you're also a cult, you know, that's cool. That's good. And the other stuff too, all of it. I don't really talk about anything I'm trying to keep secret or like take credit for necessarily. Now, if you try to take a theory of mine, that is not, I don't like that. But I can't really think of anyone who has done that. Right? Yeah, I don't think anybody's done that specifically. Know what? No, I will say there's one group, one duo of beings who, I don't know if it's just that you rub me the wrong way or that I know you're a cult. Either way, I don't like it when you do that though. So, I mean, I'm kind of just going to call you bitch made for that because you won't acknowledge or answer when I oppose your beliefs and your practices, but you'll fucking do my topics after I do them. That's pussed out, bruh. That's bitch made activity, you know, especially for how you talk publicly and things that you've said to me publicly. Ugh. Ugh, you know? Ugh. Anyway, I don't like that shit. I don't like talking about that shit. Just whatever, dude. What the fuck ever. I said some stuff recently about family that seems like it bummed some people out. Not necessarily just like personal, just overall. And here's my thing, dude. In the past like week or two, multiple people have been like, do you think you need to like change the way that you talk or like be a little like less gloomy or like happier? I don't perceive the way that I'm talking. I don't perceive my work to be gloomy. There are, you know, string theorists and theoretical physicists and there's microbiologists, quantum studies people, like all these people study very, very like the concepts that they study have implications that could be seen as very dark. I think that there is a direct disconnect because of, I know it seemed like when I said this shit, it came off as me being like self-conscious about how it's not. I don't give a fuck about how I look. I literally, people say things to me like, oh, you don't seem like you would be doing that when I talk about my research. Or they'll like watch a video and then DM me on Instagram and be like, oh, I think it's really cool that someone like you is studying the things you're studying or researching what you're researching. Or I didn't think you were really doing that. I thought you were just kind of saying stuff on, you know what I mean? Like that shit, those are backhanded comments. I know you don't mean them that way, but those are backhanded comments. Like, that's why I kind of like say some of the shit that I say sometimes, and I'm not directing it at anyone specifically in these videos, but just generally speaking, it is offensive to be like, oh, well, I didn't know that someone like you would be interested in studying. Like, bruh, I mean, it is shitty, and it comes from those very same people that tend to cling to that whole we're stepping into a new earth, we're moving to the 5D, this is the age of Aquarius, this is a new golden age, we left the Kali, like all that shit that I'm not saying I disagree with or that I don't, you know, think is possible. It's inconsequential to me. There are many things that I feel like could very well be influencing us as a whole or influencing certain beings. Whatever, dude. It's all circumstantial to me. It's all circumstantial unless there's some kind of like experimentation or some kind of documentation that can prove what you're saying. But when you do say things like, oh, someone that looks like you, that's surprising that you would be interested in those types of studies. Like, I don't care if you're a doctor or a PhD or whatever the fuck, you are condescending when you talk like that. And I feel like those circles are the ones that feign and pretend and clutch their pearls like, oh, I would never be, you know, racist. I would never be prejudiced or predetermining or any of the other goofy ass shit that they definitely do a lot. You know, it's there's been a couple of you that have like reached out to me, and I talk directly to you because you do it in weird ways. Like you create accounts, so I understand academia is weird, and if you were to be connected to me, that could look funny for you, and I know that that's not necessarily your fault, but it's also gay. Like you're gay for that, not in a sexual way. Like, you know, I'm from a specific age range. That's how we talk. You're lame for that. How about that? Can I say it that way? You're lame for that. That's pusillanimous behavior. If you study these things that you consider yourself to be on the cusp of science and on the the cutting edge of science, but you're afraid to be associated with someone that is not afraid of those things and puts their own reputation and safety on the line to speak on these topics, you're weird. You're pussed out for that, you know? So I would appreciate it if you DM me and you're like, whoever, it doesn't even matter if you're a PhD or scientist or whoever, be respectful. Like, you would expect for me to be respectful if I reach out to you. You wouldn't expect me to be like, oh, for a goofy looking motherfucker, you're actually pretty smart. If I said that to you, wouldn't that be offensive? You know? Like, it's just very, seemingly to me, straightforward, common sense stuff. I know that there are some neurodivergent beings that are consistently involved in these sciences, but I do believe that y'all kind of like cling. You use that sometimes to just be rude or to like say what you want or be dicks. I don't know. It's very strange though. Again, not telling you to not watch my stuff, or all I'm saying basically is don't be a dick and don't steal from me. Right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's it. That's all I'm saying is don't be a dick and don't steal from me. And that doesn't mean talking about things I talk about. I want that. I want more people to talk about the things that I'm researching and studying, because maybe I'll get a grant, maybe I'll get a donation or something that could help me not live like a poor philosopher. But I also don't give a fuck about that. Like, that's kind of what I'm saying is you're talking to me as if I'm less than, but you steal from me and shamelessly beg for money in ways that I find to be distasteful. So who exactly is... Anyway, my bad. I've had some weird experiences in the past week. Weird messages and shit. But it's not stopping nothing. I mean, it started before the Duat stuff, so I haven't let it like really affect my work or anything. But it's just it starts to pile up. Like, stop fucking sending these weird messages to me, you know? Because it kind of comes off as like passive aggressively trying to like, hey, would you want some? Do you need like a mentor? Like, no, dude, I don't want you to fucking mentor me, dude. I just got done saying I like that I don't have anyone to answer to. It's not to say that I wouldn't work with others, but like, don't come in trying to be my boss already, bruh. Like, I just listen to the things that I say, and if you hear those, then you'll hear like I'm very content with doing my own research and not having a boss or a board or some kind of governing authoritative body trying to like, rein that back in. You're sounding crazy. Fuck all that. Like, that's how we, discover our theories, whether they still stand up or not. Like, gravity doesn't stand up. That doesn't hold up anymore, but that you had to be bold to come up with a theory like that, to envision a system like that. I don't know. I'm trying my best to like kind of ignore certain entities when they hop out, but it can be difficult. There is also outside stimuli, Oh, yeah, so fuck, that was a pretty big digress. I said some shit about family in that last video, right? I talked about the entertainment industry, like Hollywood and the music industry. It also applies to the prison industrial complex, but like this concept that I'm kind of like testing out in my theory, like I'm kind of putting it in the theory and taking it out to see which if it works. And I guess even when I prefaced it, some folks got offended, like oh well, if I can't trust my family, if I can't look over at my blank and see someone I can trust, like, what's the point? And I'm like, that's not my job. That is not my job. That's not my job. It's not what I'm saying to you. I'm presenting shit for me. And I'm saying it in the way that it came to me. I'm not trying to tell you what your life is. I'm not saying to you what your family is. You may have the coolest family ever. Good for you. You want to switch? Like, I don't I don't know what to say to that. You know? It's very, very strange to me to hear me talk in the way that I talk. And it's not the people that responded to that video, those aren't the first ones to be like, hey, what do you mean by that? Even though I'm not talking to you. Do you know what I am, but I'm not. I've said a great many times, I'm speaking to a very, very small, specific group of beings who will know that I'm talking to them when they hear me speak. So if it feels foreign to you, or if it feels like I might be being rude to you or something, I'm not trying to do that. I'm definitely not trying to make you feel weird or scared or offended or any of those things. Unless I say that I'm doing that. There are groups that I say directly. There are groups and beings where I'm like, I'm talking to you and fuck you. I say it. I'm very plain with the way that I speak. Which I'm not like faulting those folks or beings for not knowing that. It's not like you know me or anything, but if you listen for long enough, and it doesn't take long, I say this shit repeatedly because apparently I'm an inflammatory speaker. Like the things that I say, make people hot pretty regularly, but it's not intended. And I say things to try to qualify shit, or if I'm speaking to somebody, I say as plainly as I can with self-preservation in mind, like, oh, I'm talking to you. But again, I'm not talking about your family. If it's not your family, I can't decide that for you. If you got the discernment to be like, oh shit, nigga, that's everybody in my family but me, like that black sheep shit, then I'm talking to you. But that's not me deciding that. That's you deciding that. You see what I'm saying? Like, people who are offended by generalizations are the ops. I mean, yeah, kinda. I don't know if I'd say that they're the ops. I know you're joking, but like, I do think that's dangerous at the very least. Whether you're just asleep or you are like the other side or some shit, or one of the other sides, I should say. In any sense, that's not good. When you say that to when you say that to me, I'm like, okay. And I try to handle it as like diplomatically as I possibly can, but it does let me know something. If you're like, hey, my family's cool. Yeah. All right. That's what that comes off like. Out of nowhere, you watch a video and you're like, my family's fucking cool, fuck you. And I'm like, all right. So yeah, that was not my intention, I guess, if I need to say that to multiple people. If your family's cool, then they're fucking cool, bruh. I don't know your family. What's up with that? Then there's the guy with you fought my girl, you argued with my girlfriend. Like, I'm not near you. I don't know you or your people or your family. Very weird psychosis-like things are being... I don't know. I guess I should just... I think one of my rules kind of works well, where it's like I just assume that you're not a real person until you prove that you are. And I know that that sounds extreme, but it's not. I don't even feel like I'm saying that because I can put myself in other people's shoes very easily because of the whole empath shit. And I get that some of the things I say might sound like, what? What the fuck did he just say? But I'm not just saying them to say them. I have reason. Many times there's multiple reasons, both from research or from personal experience or a mixture of two or three of those things. Like, not just saying that. There's usually a contextual reason for me saying that. And the psychosis is kind of wild. It's very haunting because some shit's about to go down. It already did, really. Just everybody's kind of like in denial right now, which is, I think, is lending to a little bit of nervousness or anxiety on my part. You know, the financial system it has collapsed. And I don't just mean recently, it collapsed a fairly long time ago. When you don't have something backing your already fake currency system, that is a failure, right? And that happened a really long time ago. That happened like a fucking long time ago. So from my perspective, this has been creepy to me for a long time. Not just for that reason, but there are others also. But that's like a big one. Is it showed me the level to which this civilization is capable of like delusion, and it's very disturbing to me. Hugely disturbing to me, and it's just gotten worse. You know, one of the biggest financial institutions that's been propping up this fake system to begin with did file many, many, many different bankruptcies fraudulently very recently. And so that is going to, in some way or another, go into effect like within days, I think. What's the date? Yeah, it's the 22nd. Within days. And just everyone's kind of just still doing stuff, still going to these goofy jobs, still spending. It's because, and I get it, because everyone is agreeing that we're just going to do this and like keep doing the thing. It's still kind of working, but we're wasting time. And I think perpetuating mental illness potentially. You know? And it's a weird subversion because those that speak like me are the ones being called like delusional or crazy or whatever because we read and like use critical thinking. The shit that you're supposed to do with your brain. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're off, huh? Are you okay? Do you need a hug?" No. I do not. This is very, very weird. I don't know. I'm not really too worried about it. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know how long I'm going to stay on commercial, but... Or he went for a ride to fall asleep. We'll see.
Oh,
What's happening?
yeah, I'm not gonna be on too long either. I'm got some stuff to do with my son. So to chat with you, see how he was doing today.
Man, every time it rains, I get physical symptoms.
Uh,
I kept some samples. I looked at them already. I honestly, so I have samples that are from organic origin, right? That have the things that I've spoken about before. I put pictures up. They're in my community posts on the YouTube. That contributes to people feeling badly, and we all have it in us. They keep calling it microplastics, but that's not what that is. That is not what that is. I think I have to redo those videos too. I have some videos up on it, but I think I have to redo those kind of because my format's different now. But like, it's being showered on us in rain and in snow. It's in the air. You know what I mean? Like, and I think some people can like kind of take it, more than others.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't. I think that some people just think that they're feeling under the weather or they feel sick or something like that, and it just sucks because when you try to tell them, oh, well, like, look, this is XYZ, and there are protocols that have been come up with very recently, mostly with natural stuff that you can try. They're like, oh, you believe in that, and I'm like, all right, bro. All right, there's not grid work in your sky right now,
Right.
but
Now, when people say stuff like that to me, like sometimes I say it out loud, but in my mind, I'm definitely like, no, you don't believe in anything. It's not that I believe
what is that? You know what I mean?
I got another design, bro, and it says that conspiracies are real, gravity is a theory. So it's either you understand that or you don't. And this is where I believe that my position and my role is to remind those who are putting in the effort to teach and present information that is impossible to reach everybody. Like your message is only
I
supposed
feel like
to.
it's even beyond that sometimes because it's like how do you? Okay, so I understand the concept of like fear making you not want to acknowledge something. I don't get it, but I can understand that. But are there are beings that you can talk to, and like I'll say the rain's got me feeling like shit, and then I don't mean for that to open up a conversation about it. I'm just when you say how are you, and I say that, that's just my natural response because it's true. I'm telling you the truth. But then many times from their perspective, they'll be like, what does that mean? And then I have to be like, oh, it's because XYZ. And again, I don't lie, I'll tell you because you just asked me what that means. And then their response is like, huh. And I'm like, okay, so I see in your face that you are not understanding or you don't believe, which is fine. But what I would say to you is I would invite you to look at your sky. And when you look at your sky, do you remember clouds forming in that? Do you remember planes needing to form your clouds, all of them? When's the last time you saw cloud cover without planes first? Because it's been years for me. It's very, very strange to me, the level of like just disassociation
What
from.
you used the word you used to me, you used the perfect word the other day, and that's feigning. It's just pretending as if they lack understanding. It's like playing dumb to the millionth power, and it's not it's not productive for anybody involved, especially if you're the one who asked the question for clarification. If you ask me a question for clarification and then I gave you an answer, how does it benefit anybody involved for you to act like that you don't know what I'm speaking about? And that's where, to me, I think it's important for us to recognize those energies and not feed them because they're disingenuous and they're really here only to serve literally as a devil's advocate.
Yeah, I think most times that's what that is. But I do think that there are some that like okay, so my ex has a friend, right? And this is when I was still kind of like just 100%, throat chakra open, which it seems like I'm like that now, but it was worse. Like, I didn't care who it was. I would just like, you would say something and I would be like, oh, that's because, and then I would just say the thing. And she was like, yeah, I just don't want to really think about that. And when she said it, I genuinely did feel bad. I was like, okay, well, I'm not trying to like make you sad or depressed or anything. And that really changed the way that I come at people. Sometimes I still do that, but if they let me know, it's the same thing as with that chick. You know, if you let me know that and you're not being like a dick or you're not trying to change me or push me off mine or whatever, then I'll instantly be like, okay, and I'll even apologize. Like I really wasn't trying to bum you out. I wasn't trying to freak you out, but like it is going to happen and that is something to be concerned about. But if you don't want to think about it, just you, but you're okay with others trying to make sure that it doesn't get lost in all these other stupid conversations and distractions, then I'm okay with that, you know? It's all in the way that it gets said. Like, if you try to make me stop talking, or, you know what I mean, just generally, that's a problem to me. That makes me angry. But if you just say, I just really don't want, I'm trying to stay happy and I'm already having a tough time. Can you not do that around? Yes. I apologize, you know?
Yeah, no, every time or every moment is not always going to be or it's not always going to lend itself to quote unquote truth.
Right.
And I would definitely respectfully change the subject if I see that it's not welcomed or it's not being ingested. Because like you said, I don't want to waste my time or I don't want to agitate anyone if I don't need to agitate anyone. It's just I know that this conversation is better had with someone else, and I'll just move on.
I mean, it lends to the. I got into it a couple times over the concept of me saying truth is subjective, which is like, to me, that's like an objective statement. I don't understand how. I don't understand the confusion there. Your truth is not my truth, so that is a subjective thing. You know,
Right.
it's not to say that one person is not necessarily wrong and one is, but there's a whole bunch of different variations of that, and even that makes it subjective unless it is directly like yes or no with a provable wrong answer. That is subjectivity. I don't know if they just don't know what subjective and objective mean, or I don't know what the fuck that was, but it was like a whole channel's like following. A whole channel's following just started attacking me about that shit, and I'm like, okay, well, this seems like it's about dogma instead of, you know, instead of uh, definition. I don't know.
I can see that. I could see where people would give some pushback on that. I've given pushback on that statement. It is subjective, and at the same time, I believe that the people who would lend energy to challenge you on that statement are coming from a perspective of uh, uh, thinking like from a collective mindset, and collective consciousness is a thing. And if I were to give any pushback on that statement, that would be from the perspective that is speaking from collective consciousness. Because if
Yeah,
nothing,
but even within that, just, and this is same way I'll say it, you know, to anyone when this kind of comes up, is like, respectively to anyone and their beliefs. I'm not saying that because I'm trying to disprove anyone else's beliefs, but it is an objective statement that, you know, any two people are likely to have at least slightly varying versions of even the same truth.
mm-hmm.
That is subjective. So like,
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to say, when I say that, I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm right. I'm saying we both view right as different things. So that's just subjectivity in itself. I think I'm saying it from a scientific perspective and they're saying it from like a faith-based perspective when even with the faith base, if you go into a church and ask every parishioner like what you're worshiping and what that means, you're not going to get the same answer twice.
And
So
where that's specifically where I give the pushback, because I believe when it's faith based, it's 1,000% subjective. But
that's the thing.
when you start to align with science, then that's when there has to be some type of objectivity, because the definition of being scientific is to come into agreement. Like,
See, but I disagree even there because, like, okay, so string theory, not provable. Gravity, which many believe to be the objective truth. They
it's a
believe that
theory.
gravity, right? There is no theory that has been proven. There is
That part.
no theory that has been proved. So science in itself is a practice. It's not law. It's and it's ever changing.
Right.
You know, we think that we know, and then someone else comes along and they're like, "Hey, what about this though?" Like Tesla. You know, Tesla comes along and he just changes everything.
But that's exactly why I'm saying that if I give pushback on that statement, it's usually towards people who try to use science as an absolute truth. Like, you can't say that all truths are subjective and then lean on science, because science is literally uh, a concise agreement of principles that are being presented as fact or law. And
I
if we're going to say that,
I don't think that's true.
well,
So, I mean, I think that people act like that now. I'll give you, so to preface, I think that people act like that now, but then look at how colleges are in their science departments and just within their teachers' ranks. Like, there are teachers that are quitting right now because they're like, I don't even recognize what we're doing
yeah,
anymore. So I'll give you that they act like that now, but that's not what science is. Science is very, very specifically like almost to the point, but like it'll say something like, you know, redundant results um, equals the most likely. It won't say objective law or truth. And the ones that say law are the ones that have been the most disproven as of recently. Like, you know, the laws of inertia. You know what I mean? Like, there are things that were stated as law,
mhm.
but unless they're like subject, like the laws of robotics, those are stated as law, but like it's not actual. You can do stuff outside of those laws, but for the ones that are like, this is how this works 24/7, they've all been disproven. You know?
Well, not
Uh,
that's kind of like where I'm getting at is anytime that you are aligning yourself with a perspective that has come from man, you are running the risk of being a slave to someone's egotistical agenda. And most times than not, science is whatever law or principle is brought forth by a body of people who are trying to present themselves as the intellectual uh, finders of truth, or we are the collective body that have the ability to state this, and we agree with it. And because we agree, we're going to determine that we're going to validate each other in a way that no outside entity can come and challenge us. And that's what science has been for a long, long time. It's been controlled thinking. Newton, Galileo, like, these are people who had backing. And you just think about social media, like an influencer, right? An influencer doesn't have any talent that any one individual doesn't possess. It's just they have backing, and they're presented and being propagated to the people. So a lot of the things that we buy into as a society is just because it's been presented as truth and marketed it as truth, and the general public has been taught not to push back.
I would agree to an extent, but I don't. I think that that's those are cults. the ones that say, hey, there's no other option than what I'm presenting you right now, those are cults. And there's never a time when there's not someone else that's presenting another option for a basis of reality or a
Right.
basis of
But
ideology.
they're called conspiracy theorists, though. That's what I'm
No,
saying. If you're operating outside of the governing body, they're going to label you as a conspiracy theorist
that's
and try to
that's
discredit.
very recent. That's very. I'm looking at this from like kind of all encompass because like yes, very much so recently, but that's been since the invention of the concept and terminology conspiracy theory. Before that, people just fought about shit. People just fought about shit. Like Tesla was fucked with very hard by multiple competitors.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't call him a conspiracy theorist, but they would do all kinds of shit like electrocute elephants and blame Tesla's technology, but it was really theirs that they were using. Like very crazy stuff. But like I think that the concept of truth being objective is a very recent, very pushed thing that makes very little sense. And we feel like it's been like that for a long time because of how real it is now. You don't see any like logic pushing back on it. You can look at the media, and they're very like skewed and not they're not logical. They obviously have you know advertisers and Canaanites that tell them what they can and can't say and shit. Um, Schools, same thing. Like everything is being run by a couple of groups that are being run by one group, and so everyone kind of feels like truth is objective because they're being told over and over again that truth is one thing. But if you go back far enough, you see that we lived, I won't call it in harmony. I think people do that too much. We lived side by side. We did fight, we did war and stuff like that, but we also didn't. Polytheism was way more influential at those times, and the way that we view faith and life tends to bleed over into other aspects of life. So once this Yaldabaoth character with his archonic shit came in and said, I am a jealous God, you will have no other gods before me, I think it really changed the way that we view most shit, and it made it to where, okay, so now truth is not up to debate. Truth is not up for, uh, you know, uh, 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 meeting in the middle ground and saying either you have that, I'll have this, or we'll just agree to disagree. These things are starting to fade. It's becoming you're wrong, I'm right, and I won't have anything other.
For sure.
That that's basically what I was saying to them. But they once you get past the first sentence or two, they just start shooting scriptures at you.
Yeah. And, so I guess I can put it like this, or the way that I see it. There, because when you're talking about now and forever, right? In recent times, yes, I can see what you're saying. Yes, a lot of these things have been branded in a way that the problems that exist seem to be recent. But we're talking about throughout time. The way that I look at it is, no matter what language you speak, no matter what culture you come across, uh, seemingly throughout history, from whatever has been found and presented, all cultures identify that there is some higher power or force. And to me, all of the systems that exist and doctrines and ideology exist solely to either disprove or borrow from that philosophy or mindset. And one thing that I can give as an example of that is science, modern science, with the God particle. So science in all of their infinite wisdom and trying to break things down and figure out the secrets of the universe have come to a stall. Like they found the smallest particle. They don't know what it is. They don't know how it came into being. And because of it, the only thing that they can name it is the God particle. To me, that is like beyond irony. And it's evidence of man having no choice but to result back to the unknown. Because at the end of the day, you can say that there is no absolute truth or there is no objective truth, but at the same time, we're arguing about something, right?
Well, even then, like, okay, so take the God particle. If I'm not mistaken, that's the Higgs boson particle. So there's two different names already within that. So some are going to be more comfortable calling it the God particle, who are already more inclined to, kind of lean more toward the metaphysical and the faith-based, whereas others, who I feel sorry for, to be honest, they would rather, they're the same ones that would rather answer, what happens when you die? Oh, well, it's just blackness. Nothing happens after you die. And it just, all of these issues just become a matter of how you preface, because they end up still being subjective, which is my only point. It's not necessarily that I'm trying to say that there's a thing that's right or wrong, only that literally everything is subjective. Even with the God thing, you can say the things that you just said, but there are still others that are going to say, yeah, but God doesn't exist. It doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. It's just displaying that truth is subjective. Objectively, truth is subjective, because there's always going to be other beings that, even if they can't comprehend it the way you comprehend it, that in itself makes their truth different from your truth or other beings' truths, which is, that was my only point to them.
For sure. What do you think about this statement? Because I agree with you. Like we are all subjects, so that makes things subjective. But what are you subject to? Like that's really what to me the philosophical question is. And to me, the question that I ask is, or I'll say the thing that I believe is that there is one absolute truth, and that is that no one knows the truth. No one knows what that absolute truth is, but they're searching for it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But even then, that's my point. Even it's a paradox. Even that is subjective, because there are beings that genuinely, deep in their heart, believe through and through that they know the truth, and you can't tell them any different. So that is their truth.
That's their reality.
It's not your truth.
That's their reality.
Exactly, and that's my only point, is that I was really trying to tell those beings, those very, very like rigid Abrahamic, like imposition based beings, like, I'm not telling you what to believe in. I'm not saying anything to degrade your faith. What I'm saying to you is that you're not embodying the Christ teachings that you say that you believe in by talking to me the way that you're talking to me. You don't even know if I believe in what you believe in. For all you know, I am a part of your faith, and you're talking to me in such a greasy way that you would think that I am your direct enemy. This is not the teachings of the Christ that you say that you follow. It's not the teachings of the anthropomorphic Christ. It's not the teachings of the being that was teaching how to reach the Christ energy. It's, these are things that are direct contradictions that I think many can't put into words, but they understand and can feel I don't really like going to this church, or I don't really like being a part of this organized thing because they're displaying things that directly contradict what they say that they embody and believe in. And when I said that, they started saying all that stuff about how this is the 100% truth and so on and so on. And I was like, okay, well, truth is subjective. And so not only are you assuming what I believe, so you're assuming that I don't believe in God, which is incorrect. You're also assuming that I'm somehow trying to slight or disrespect Jesus, also not true. Not the real Jesus, not the original Jesus, the unadulterated, unedited, Jesus. That's not true either. I don't have any reverence for this rethought, manipulated, manufactured version that I believe to be archonic. That's different. And I do, when it comes down to it, I give the respect that I'm given. So at this point, I'm being like, I have weird stuff being said to me. So I'm like, okay, well, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me that you all are coming at me like this when you're worshiping a direct, like opposite of who you think you're worshiping. And it just kept divulging into into stupidity. But then it got to a point where it's like, truth is subjective, truth is not subjective. And I'm like, all right, well, I got to go.
I would suggest coming or preparing some qualifying questions so you can identify who you're talking to.
Well, that was like an attack. I wasn't even trying to talk to these people. They all just started coming at me.
Well, that's definitely the thing that I've found as of late is that a lot of people are very comfortable with challenging ideas because they don't have any original ones of their own. And I don't really have too much time to waste with those type of people. If you're trying to add, or even if you're trying to take away from what I'm saying, like I don't really mind that as much if you have your own original thought to present in the place of what I'm saying. But if you're here just to argue and you can't back up anything, or you can't even definitively say what it is that you believe, only thing that you can say is you don't believe what I believe. Like I'm not. That's not a real conversation, bro. Like I don't know who you're representing because you're not speaking plainly. You're just talking in circles just to be a devil's advocate because at the end of the day, whatever I'm saying resonates in a way that you don't want to admit.
Yeah, I think it got to a point where it was like, I really do feel like, and this is kind of me speaking to them, like, I really feel like you think that I don't have anything positive to impart on you. And I also think that you're standing within that because you think you know what I am, like who I believe in, what I am, and all these things. When you haven't asked me anything, you saw me say one thing that you didn't even ask for a clarification on. I could have meant something different than what you interpreted it as, which I think was the case. I think that happens a lot where I'm not a fan of the Roman Catholic Church. I'm not a fan of what they've done to the message. I'm not a fan of what they've done to religious texts because I have a pretty good reverence for religious texts. But what they've done is like kind of condensed it down to this from concentrate, very, very GMO'd version of the religious, text that the Bible comes from, the Nag Hammadi, the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian texts, all these Mithraism, like all these very, very special belief systems that had their faults and they had their upsides. They took it and they bent it into something like disgusting. Oh, he's back. I gotta be out. He's nap time. I appreciate it, though, brother.